Hey everybody, welcome back to Tea Time with Dr. Smith from Accomplished Health and Wellness and Heather Fiore from Free State Nutrition. And sorry that our broadcasting hasn't been very good the last week. I don't know if maybe my computer didn't like the Mediterranean diet as much as I do, or I don't know. But I did get a new camera, and I also got a new microphone. So when those come next week, hopefully we'll be on the new getup. Mm-hmm. So anyways, today we do have tea, and you know how I love to mix teas, so who knows if it'll be good. But I mixed the green tea with pomegranate, which is one I really like, and then the green tea with mangosteen peach. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it'll be good.
It's a lot of flavor going on.
It is a lot of flavor. Cheers. Oh, and we got the fun picnic mugs today.
I love those.
It kind of has a little bitter undertaste.
Oh yeah?
Do you taste it bitter?
It's bitter. Mm-hmm.
Smells good.
It does smell good. I think it's good.
I meant to bring I finally at the store found the sweet tangerine one again.
Oh yeah.
That we liked. And then I also got vanilla energy, I think is what it's called. Mm-hmm. And I meant to bring those, and I swore I brought them, but I guess I didn't. So anyways, today we are going to be talking about the intermittent fasting diet, right?
Yes.
And I think the thumbs up from my friend Sarah means that she can hear us.
Hooray.
So yay. So anyways, give us the lowdown on this intermittent fasting. I was reading that there's a lot of different ways you can do this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's the first thing to note is that there isn't just one way.
It's not this is how you cut and dry.
Right. And I think the reason for that is that we don't have enough research showing that this way is the way that works
going to
best.
Benefit.
So
I was actually kind of reading some articles about this, and there's actually no data on this in humans. It's only in animals. So I don't know if we can really take it to humans, but it seems to be this fast-growing craze.
It definitely is. I mean, people are always wanting to try something new, and so
So how do we do it?
New and different, right? So, so the one way is the alternate day fasting. So, you alternate days of consuming no calories. You're just drinking water.
Nothing.
I suppose you can have coffee, but
does celery have calories?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're really 0 calories. So
wow, just water.
Water, pretty much.
I would die.
And then the other days you have whatever. So alternate.
I would be hangry. Major hangriness.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine how you eat at all reasonably on those days you get to eat. But that's
right. I would scarf.
Yes.
Okay. So alternate days.
Every other
calories,
mm-hmm. Or the 5 and 2 or 2 and 5 or something, whatever it's called, where you've got 5 days of regular eating, and 2 of your days it's 20 to 25% of your calories, so it's somewhere around 500.
So you have to kind of know actually how many calories you're eating.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to
do that
figure out what's your, what's the recommended for your, you can get an estimate.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Somewhere around 2,000 or whatever, right? 1,800, somewhere in there.
I don't even know how would you break that up in your day? 500 calories.
500 calories. It is very little.
Yeah, that's
for 2 days consecutive.
Yeah, that would.
And then you get to just eat normally after.
So what does that mean? Eat normal? You get to eat all the, if you were eating McDonald's, you can keep eating McDonald's, but then on these other 2 days, you don't get to eat hardly anything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not really any.
I don't think
I need to eat healthy behind this.
Right. I don't think there's specific guidance about what you do on your eating days.
Interesting. We got a question. How many calories are in a donut?
So it's less than 500, and that's the good news. If that's how you want to spend your calories.
You only get a donut that day.
Yeah, I think it's probably somewhere around 200.
I bet that those apple fritters, that's what I like. I bet those are 500. I mean, they're kind of big.
Right. But a regular average donut is somewhere at 250.
Right.
So you could eat two donuts.
2 donuts.
Apparently.
You can break them in half and eat them throughout the day.
And be really hungry in between.
Oh my gosh. I am one of those people, I so get hangry. Like,
yeah,
the monster comes out and I'm like, where is the food? That's all you get, one single donut.
I don't know if you get used to it. If you're fasting more often, maybe you get used to it and you don't get hungry.
I don't know that. It's like too long, but
I know.
So my friend Sarah does some fasting, and she says she just cuts out dinner if I'm fasting.
Okay.
Is that part
so that's
of it?
a similar one. So
Okay,
let's
so what's
get into
that?
So this is like time restricted, where you just limit limit the time you have access to food.
Okay.
So it could be like 16 hours where you're fasting, and then you only have 8 hours to eat.
Which technically, if you think about it, that's probably what Sarah's doing, because if you wake up in the morning and then you go until lunchtime, and then you don't eat dinner, and then you go till the next day when you have breakfast, that would be more than 12 hours. So
right. That'd be about 16. Sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, if you start like in the
like
late afternoon to
that would actually be almost 20 hours, depending on when you eat lunch. But
so then there's the 36-hour one where you really go like a day and a half
of
fasting, and then you get 12 hours to eat.
And you do this like consecutively?
I guess so. Yeah, you get 12 hours and then you get another 36. I don't know. I mean, supposedly the time windows for eating include sleep, but that seems challenging.
Yeah.
But, so then the last.
You can't eat when you sleep.
I know.
That's like a given.
It's another way to cut down.
That's what I was joking with you, that the fast diet is really like when you're supposed to be sleeping. Right. That's called a fast.
Yeah.
Whenever I have people come in for blood work, right? So if you're checking cholesterol or blood sugars, you really want it to be fasting. And the best is an 8-hour fast. And I always just tell people nothing after midnight, come in the next morning, and then we do your blood work. But you can actually see some blood changes with like even a 16-hour fast. And I'll tell you them in a second, but there's one more fasting practice that
right. So I think it's important to note that there's religious fasting that goes on too. So exactly, Sarah. We're totally
that's what we're there with you.
We're definitely going to talk about
she'd
binging.
Be horrible and binge.
Yes, that is, I think, is a really important point to get to.
Yeah.
But there's religious fasting, and it's obviously for the purpose of like, spiritual and religious, experience, not for health. And I think anybody who does it would probably tell you that it doesn't feel like it's something that's good for your health. And I think there are studies on people during Ramadan, because it's a month of fasting during daylight hours, right? And they actually can gain weight.
Sure.
During Ramadan.
And the reason is that, when you're fasting, your body will switch the way that it does things. So, usually you're going to burn the carbohydrates for your energy source. But like we talked about with the keto diet, you start burning fat. But you don't just burn fat once you get to that point. You're also burning protein. So you're not just burning fat, and you're burning muscle. So you can lose some weight, but then your body doesn't know what to do. And it's like, when am I going to eat again? I need to store everything that comes in so that I will have it for later.
Yes.
And so you store everything.
Yes.
And then you end up gaining weight, and so I could see that happening. Right. But also, with the overnight fast stuff, like what I was going to say, what I start to see is I will see blood sugars that should be normal. So say somebody, I see this when people get their blood work done at like 10 or beyond, and they haven't eaten since yesterday. at dinner time, and what I'll see is that the blood sugar will be high normal, and it's very consistent amongst almost all my patients that come in later. And and what I'm deducing from that is that it's because the liver is actually starting to dump sugar, because your brain needs the sugar, so it's going to dump those sugars before it's going to go start burning some fat, because it's easier to just dump the sugar. So then you're starting to see these blood sugars that are a little bit high normal. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. I think that that's just a fluke thing, so I just watch it. But that can happen with that because, you're needing the sugar. So what else?
Well, so I think it's important to note that there are some not great studies, but we have some trials, I guess, where, they've looked at people who are doing this and finding that that it potentially can help with weight loss, can potentially help with blood sugar levels, and with over time, and with cholesterol. I mean, this potential, right? Like, we really don't have enough research to say, like, yes, this is good. But for anyone who takes any medicine that is supposed to help lower your blood sugar, whether it's insulin or it's just another kind of diabetes med, you need to be in touch with your doctor. Like, you should not just start doing this, because you could really get into trouble. So
I'm pretty sure your doctor would say not to do this.
Probably not. But if you really insisted, I mean, some people are just going to do it anyway.
Right.
Then your doctor will probably have to adjust your medications, because you just don't want to be having low blood sugars. It's going to be dangerous. But some of the things that could be happening, like we were just talking about, it could affect your muscle strength and
how you build your muscle.
How even building it, because you're potentially, dipping into your muscle to,
your protein.
To feed yourself.
Especially if you're working out while you're doing this. Like, this is not, you shouldn't work out during that fast. So if you're like a morning worker-outer and you're doing, the 16-hour fast, then you're going to start burning protein instead of building muscle. So it's going to take you longer to recover. And you're going to find over time that you're not going to be able to build the muscle that you're trying to build.
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what it comes down to. Like, why bother exercising?
Yeah.
So other things is, I mean, the really important thing, I think, is the potential for binging.
Yes.
Right? Like, there's really only a small subset of people that can handle this type of approach without it really backfiring.
The thing I see wrong with this, or that bothers me, not just the binging, but there's almost like this control over when you eat and when you don't eat. And I see that in people that binge and purge, and that will be anorexic, because there's this control factor about it. And so that could set you up for some, not so good things down the road.
Right.
And it might be a habit that becomes hard to break.
Yeah. So for sure, if you've had an eating disorder, this is not for you.
No.
But even if you've just had some disordered eating, you've been on lots of diets, you've, you don't have a great relationship with food, I would be hard pressed to recommend this.
Me and food, we get along great. I see it and I'm like, that looks good. I should eat it, but I'm gonna have to work out harder later. Anyway, so the other things that can happen that I was learning, well, it just makes sense, but headaches.
Of course.
You're not eating, you get hangry, bad mood.
For sure.
Dehydration, especially if you're not drinking enough. But even so, like, people think, so a lot of people don't realize that when you're talking about dehydration, it's not just a loss of water. it's actually a loss of salt in water.
Right, electrolytes.
So yeah, so you know, if you aren't eating and you're just drinking water,
yeah, you're getting all messed
you're
up.
just diluting your system, and it's going to actually look dehydrated even though you're not dehydrated because you're diluting out your electrolytes. But that doesn't mean that you should eat salt while you're doing this fast, because then you're going to get all like puffed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had this one teacher once, she was telling me she was pregnant, and she was like, I loved pickles so much that one night I was eating a pickle and it was so good that I drank the juice. And I was like, oh God, I can't even imagine how swollen you were the next day. She couldn't get her shoes off.
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with this. But anyways, so yeah, there you go. Headaches, dehydration. Oh, you're going to increase your stress level, your stress hormone levels.
Oh my gosh.
Because your body's like, I gotta eat, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be fighting yourself pretty hard.
Yes. Yeah. I like, my stomach starts to, I guess because I don't eat very often to the point of being so full that I'm like, oh God. Mm-hmm. Just because I don't like that feeling. And so I usually just eat to the point of like, okay, I'm good now. I don't need to eat anymore. So I couldn't imagine like going on to the intermittent fast because I just don't, I think I would scarf.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. I don't.
And then you like start to think about food, you know, and then you're like, I need to eat that.
That's all you're thinking about.
And that's all you're thinking about. And do you know what happens? So this diet can actually cause heartburn. And the reason is that when you're not eating, it actually decreases the amount of stomach acid that's produced. But when you think about food and you are looking at food or you're smelling food, so maybe somebody else is eating it, but you're not, then it triggers your brain to increase your stomach acid.
Yeah.
But you don't have anything coming in there to digest. So now you have it refluxing into your esophagus, and so you can get some heartburn from this. Crazy. So yeah. So how about bloating? That seems like. Oh yeah.
Makes sense.
That completely makes sense because you're not putting stuff in the system, and so your system though is still going to work. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to work now because I don't have anything in there. So your gut is still going to move stuff along. And as it moves stuff along, it just naturally will pull whatever. It's going to just be air. So you're going to enter air into your gut, and then you're going to be bloated. That's fine.
Makes sense.
Peppermint oil works well for bloating, just so you know. Like in water, you just mix it with water, and you can drink it. And it's all peppermint water. Reminds me of chewing gum, but it works great for bloating.
Yeah.
So anyways. Anything else?
Well, I should have mentioned that a lot of the kind of information I got today was thanks to my student, Emily Whitaker, who did some research for us today.
She helps us out a lot.
She does. And I love that she ended on this quote from Ellen Satter, who I'm a huge fan of, nationally recognized dietitian, who has just an awesome approach to eating for kids and families. And so she wrote on here the definition of normal eating according to Ellen Satter. And I just absolutely love it because it's so simple and it makes so much sense. And yet, if you listen and you actually think about your own eating, this is not how you eat. I guarantee it. So I'm just going to read it. Normal eating is going to the table hungry and eating until you are satisfied. Yep. Normal eating is being able to give some thought to your food selection so you get nutritious food, but not being so wary and restrictive that you miss out on enjoyable food. Oh. Okay, that's the dieting piece right there. Yeah. In short, normal eating is flexible. It varies in response to your hunger, your schedule, your proximity to food, and your feelings.
Right.
So recognizing that sometimes we eat for non-hunger reasons, and that's okay. That's normal. Like, we don't do that every day and every time we eat, but it does happen sometimes, and that's totally normal. So if you are thinking about any kind of diet plan, kind of run it through the test of normal eating. Like, is it going to allow you to kind of eat in a normal way? Can you build a lifestyle around it? Like, does it fit with your lifestyle?
Would you want to teach this lifestyle to your children?
Ooh,
you know, yes. Is this how you want your kids to grow up eating?
Right. Or are you hiding it from them because you know it's really not
right healthy,
not the right thing?
Right.
Then that means it's probably not the right thing for you either.
Right. So definitely, I don't think this one's high on our like list.
Like I said, I would have a really hard time recommending this to someone. I don't know how to screen somebody to feel good about, like, okay, you seem like the right kind of person that could handle this. I just don't know. Somebody really wanted to do it, I suppose, you know, rather than leaving them out there on their own, I would try to help them. You would like
make that non-fast time jam-packed full of nutrition and fluids so that it can sustain them through the, but even so, like, you know, that 12-hour fast or the 16-hour, sorry, the 36-hour, the 16-hour fast. I mean, even that, you're still running low on fuel.
Yes.
That 16 hours, that's low on fuel.
Yeah.
I just don't even like the way I feel when I'm like really starved. I get this weird thing, and I'm not really sure why. The only thing I can think is that I tense up, but when I get hungry, like major hungry, my back starts to hurt.
Really?
Yeah, it's always my low back, and I'm like, if I don't eat soon, I'm gonna like eat my arm off, you know. Yes. And I always say, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, my stomach's digesting itself. Because that's what I feel like.
Yeah. When you've got your stomach acids working just like
getting my GERD from no food. Yeah. So I don't know. I think some of my favorites are the DASH diet and the Mediterranean diet.
For sure.
We found this little list of the top diets, and it was from last year. And there's some diets on there that we weren't really sure of, but we've talked about. So number 1 was DASH diet. Number 2 was Mediterranean. And then there's like these other 3 that, or 4 that we hadn't really heard much about. And so one is the MIND diet, which was actually Mediterranean and DASH together. Yeah. Which makes sense because that actually probably would be a really good diet. I'm not sure about the Mayo Clinic. And then the TLC and volumetrics. So next time, we'll probably just touch a little bit about those. Yeah. And then we'll move on to some other topics, I guess. Yeah. Is there anything else that like maybe we could throw in with that?
And with those other diets? Well, we could talk about, like, I don't know if that's too big of a topic. We could talk about vitamins and supplements.
Yeah, we'll do that. Stick it in there.
Yeah.
If it's too big of a topic, then we'll just push it off to the
next
one.
I always think, oh, that shouldn't take long, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's a lot to say.
Right. So. Yeah, because you know, there's actually like a lot of those companies that do those vitamins and supplements, and like the biggest one that I can think of right offhand is Juice Plus. So. We don't want to attack any of them, but might be interesting kind of to learn about them. So
yeah, that's true. When you say supplement, then all of a sudden it sort of explodes into a huge topic. So
yeah,
vitamins. We can talk about vitamins. That's easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Or supplemental vitamins.
All right. So next time we will kind of go over that rest of that list and then do a little bit of vitamin supplement stuff. And if you guys have a topic that you want us to talk about that we haven't touched on, then let us know. And otherwise, have a good rest of your week, and we will see you next week.